finally, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, just that I've never been able to justify the act. Not until I moved to this place though. Remember this video? Yes. So there were plans on why the placement and stuff that involves projects that I want to do. Another project that I wanted to do for the longest time, and I realized it was building my first PC. But anyway, this time it is making my own custom-made RJ45 cables, not just the custom length, which is the main reason why I want to make my own, but the colors too. I don't know, I just found it cool to have different colors, you know, not just the cable, but the sleeves and also the connector head. I mean, something like this. You see, this is the typical connector head that you have, right? It's the transparent one. Okay, this is the transparent one, which is currently the typical current one. But I actually managed to find this as well, something like this. So these are just two of the colors that I found. Basically, one is the red color and the other one is yellow color. There's still green, blue. So this is what I wanted as well. And of course, for the sleeves, I got this, which has a lot of different colors in it. As you can see over here, there's green, orange, red, blue, black. So yeah, and in fact, look at that over there. So there is my router over there, right? And this cable over here, this cable is a self-made one. The cable that I got was a black color one, and then the sleeve is green over there, and then the bottom there is red. So one side is green, the other side is red. I just purposely did it that way so that it's easier to identify. Although initially when I first created the cable, it was all the same color so that it's more consistent, but then I was like, well, why not just make it colorful, you know what I mean? But the main reason why I decided to make my own RJ45 cable is that I can make the length of my own. Why? To me, I prefer to have a cable of just nice length so that I don't have to coil them and tie them. It makes it easier to clean the table too. But overall, looks neater. That's most important. And I mean, does it look nicer when the cable's length is just nice? Hopefully it's not just a me thing. I mean, look at that. So I don't know whether you noticed, but previously it was just a typical cable that was provided to me that came together with the router. And because of the distance between the port and the router is actually very short, I actually had to coil the cable and then I have to tie it. And in the end, I noticed that she would very often move the routers around, and on top of that, it would, like, I don't know, she would position it in such a way that it's slanted, tilted, whatever, right? And that makes me think, like, so what's the purpose of this, you know, really long cable when the distance between the port and the router is like very short, right? So I was like, okay, let's just make it short because first thing first, the cable is off the table. Second thing, I don't need to coil it and tie it. It just looks much nicer. Can you imagine something like those not just home servers, but just server rack in a sense? You know how there's like short cable so that it just looks neater rather than a very long cable and then you have to tie it again. Yeah, so that's the kind of the idea that I want to make, because after this step, my future projects would involve RJ45 cables. So that's why I chose it in a certain way, which is starting by, you know, my house renovation thing, whereby I would ask the contractors to help me to position the port plugs on the wall in a certain ways, and then including the fiber port as well. Because if you guys don't know, the houses in Singapore, the fiber box, the way they position it is always near the main circuit board and it's always near the entrance of the house. Don't ask me why, but that's just how they do it. But for me, I specifically request them to move the fiber box in the house so that it's more centralized and then it's easier to reach out to all the different rooms. And also the reason why I asked to do that is because in Singapore you cannot really do like DIY your own house just like how you see in those DIY kind of videos, especially located in US. So yeah, you kind of just have to get it right from the very beginning, and then whatever you want to do it in the house is up to you. So when that got done, you can rewatch again in this video. The first thing that I did was building my PC, right? Like I said, that was the very first project. The next project I wanted to do, which is building a PC so that I can do this recording and edit it, because previously I've been working on a laptop and it will always freeze, and yeah, that's it, it died. So I'm very glad that I had this PC now. And then the next one was, I was going to do something related to, well, PC system as well, but it will involve RJ45 cables. So in the end, I decided to just create this project first, because first thing first, it's going to be used all around the house, because I'm gonna make a cable for my modem, for my other router, and then subsequently for the other rooms as well. So that's why I decided to make it this first, then subsequently the other projects as well. So the process of doing this is actually pretty straightforward, but somehow I had difficulty with it, especially when crimping the wrong order of the wires. Like which wire is the first order ended up in the last order just because I crimped the head the other way around. You know what I mean? Like if you take this thing over here, there's the front and the back, right? So the moment you crimp it the other way, the order of the wires will swap basically. And yeah, GG. You just gotta redo the whole cable again, and then your cable gotta become shorter, and then you have to remeasure your cable again, etc, etc. Yeah, it's a journey. I almost wanted to say it's a pain, but it's more of like a journey, I guess, because it's a learning point. But before I continue further, let's go into what tools are needed to make the RJ45 cables. But hold on, Daddy, what is RJ45 cable? They are essentially the LAN cable that you see that provides the internet, or the Ethernet cable, or what some people call it, the data cable. Personally, I've never called it a data cable, but I've only heard about it when I was renovating the house, and I realized the interior designer as well as the contractor, they don't have a single clue what it means. They just call it the data port over there or the data cable. Then all this time, let me just give you a little bit of story over here. So I've been talking to them with all the jargons, the terms, you know what I mean? And then they will always tell me like they understood and stuff like that. So there was this period of time where I had to go back and forth, meaning like literally I had to keep on coming to the house and tell them, no, this is wrong, redo. And then the next day I'll come again, no, this is wrong again, redo. Until one day when I explained them again, and I was like, dude, guys, I had been explaining the same thing again and again. Do you guys actually understand it? And then I started to notice the term that they use. They keep using the word data cable, data port. And then I was like, okay, this thing is data port, the cable is the data cable, and this is the arrangement that I want. And they will be like, oh, so that's what you meant. And I was like, you guys could just ask me if you guys don't understand, you know what I mean? If not, like, it was a really waste of time, you know. And then after that, they got it right. Oh boy, what a journey. But anyway, I got sidetracked, and yeah, just in case you, as one of my viewers, you don't understand, I hope this clarify everything. Alright, so basically it's just a cable that, you know, brings the internet to you, to your system, to whatever. Okay, so what tools do you need? First thing first, you need a tool that can cut both cables, if you buy the spool type, and the transparent thing inside the cable that keep the wire straight. Alright, it has this cross-sectional thing in the middle, you'll see it later. Then you need a tool that cut open the outer layer of the cable to expose the wires inside. Alright, then you need a crimper that basically press the cable and the connector head together. Usually a crimper can do more than half of these things, so for me I only have these two. The clamp tools, VDV226011SEN, and the Knipex 140 made in Germany cutter. So honestly, it looks like a typical cutter, you see, but you know, this cutter feels crazy good, to be honest. You can feel it. You only have to get it and feel it, then you can understand. So yeah, but at least now I understand why all the EDC people out there, they like to use this brand a lot, Knipex, because I believe there's another one that I'm kind of aiming right now, but I just don't have the reason to justify why I need to get that tool. So yeah, but this thing, ooh, I've had a $2 version of the cutter and it rusted. And then I have a slightly more expensive one. I believe it was $3, $5 cutter. It has a string in between so that it will just keep you open and stuff like this, which is you need to open and close it manually. Well, it got real hard. Like, I don't know, it just felt cheap in a sense. But after you hold this, you'll know the real, like what real quality tools are. Alright, it's not cheap, but it's still pretty affordable, so I don't really mind it. This tool though, this is the real deal. It's quite expensive, to be honest. So yeah, here they are. For the cutter, looks pretty simple, and its job is simple too. It gets the job done. It used to cut. But these clamp tools, it has many functions. By the way, sidetrack, I decided to get the clamp tools because I really like the clamp tools RJ45 checker tool that I decided to get their crimper too. But this is not cheap, again, like I said previously, and you can easily get cheaper ones out there, and it is enough, especially when you just want to crimp. You can get it as easily, like, I don't know, if I'm not mistaken, $20 can get it already. Meanwhile, for these clamp tools, more than $100. So yeah. So anyway, these clamp tools has the capability to crimp both RJ45 and RJ11 cables, which is for the landline cable, those cable that you use for your phone, you know, for your telephone at home. But I don't know, these days people no longer use telephone, at least as far as I know. So yeah, but unless your house still using it, this tool will be good for you as well. However, for this case, we focus on RJ45 only. Then it has the capability to cut open the wire, which you will see in the section later. Maybe I'll try to show you a little bit. Alright, you see this hole over here at the bottom here? That is what is used to cut open the wire. You see this round thing like at the bottom of the tool, it looks kind of round. That's what it's used for. And also, it has the capability to cut. But I found its cutter not as convenient as the Knipex one, hence I got the Knipex one again. Like, obviously this thing is much more convenient because its sole purpose is just to cut. So yeah. That said, after getting these tools, they don't make me a master immediately. Fortunately, I do need a few cables, more to come in fact, which in the end I managed to make, fortunately, again, for the whole house. And through this practice again and again, I finally got better and faster. Now, let me show you the steps first. Because I got a spool type, so I started by measuring the length of the cable that I need. But remember, always leave extra couple of inches or more for you to make both ends with the connectors, because at the end of the day, when you measure a cable, you still need to cut the end of each of the cable so that you can slot in the the connector into the cable, right? So those are what the extra couple of inches for, alright guys? Otherwise, when you measure the cable and then you cut the end of the cable, it will become shorter than what you initially wanted. Alright, after that, you can cut the cable. It's pretty simple. Just use the Knipex cutter and then cut the cable. For me, it is my new love Knipex. Again, I just have to emphasize that because this is my new love tool currently. After that, time to de-sleeve the cable. Wait, is there actually such word? De-sleeve? Anyway, basically what you need to do is you need to cut open the cable so that you can expose the wires inside, basically, because those are what you need to slot into, again, the connector head over here. Alright, then after you open the thing for the wires to be exposed, right, this wire is going to be slotted inside the thing. And you can open the cable like so. This is when I use the crimper because it has the built-in functionality like I showed you earlier. Next, then after you cut open the cable, you have to untangle the wires inside so that you can expose the transparent middle thing that looks like a cross section like so. This, you're supposed to cut them. You need to cut it. After cutting this, then you can untwist each wire and straighten them so that it's easier to slot them through the connector. But trust me, it's easier to say than done. But before slotting them through though, cut the end of the wires by a bit. Basically, you need just to trim the end of it so that they appear as the same length, in a sense that they are all the wires appear at the same level. Alright, otherwise some wires may appear longer than the other. But before that, remember the order of the wires, because if the wires are not in order, the cable is pretty much faulty. That's it. You gotta cut the head of it, redo the whole thing again. Yeah. You can refer to this guide though, pretty good. By the way, the cable that I'm working on is Cat 6 cable, I forgot to mention earlier. Nothing fancy because it is enough to complement my fiber that is provided to me. So next, after you have successfully slot the wires through, it is time to crimp. Crimping is simple. Simply put the connector head with the wires in it at the crimper, as shown. Press it, and bam, it's done. But here's the thing, notice how the wires are protruding there. Some cheaper ones actually help to cut these extra wires. I have no idea why this Klein Tools doesn't do that. I ended up having to trim it manually myself. It is a lot easier if you can get a crimper that also can cut the excess wires for you so that you don't have to cut them manually yourself, as it is neater that way as well. And such tools do exist and they can be cheaper than this tool. Like I said earlier, $20, $50, you can get it already. Unless I'm using these Klein Tools wrongly, please leave your comments down below so I know too that this tool actually can use it. Because yeah, it will really help to save my time a lot. But I had really done my searching on this tool and I just don't see it. I mean, I even try to turn it upside down and stuff like that. I just don't see it on this tool. And by right, if let's say it helps to cut the excess wire, you will be able to see some sort of blades over here. But I don't see it, like you see. That's why I think that it just doesn't help to cut the excess wires at this point. But I did find a way on how to minimize that and still make it neater. So yeah, it's a learning process, I guess. So anyway, that's all. The steps are simple and you got your first handmade Cat 6 cable, just like that. But of course, it wasn't that rosy and straightforward. When I first did it, it took me quite some time to untwist, straighten, and slot in the wires, especially when slotting the wires. Oh my god. Some wires appear to have been on the correct order, right? But somehow after going through connector head, the wires either cross each other or I don't know, they just came out in different order. It's so frustrating. Like, for example, you straighten the wires this way, and then when you slot through the connector, you ended up crossing each other like this, so it'll come out like in different orders. And this happened again and again, like a lot of times, to be honest. So the struggle is real. And then another issue that I face is that, like what I said earlier, the front and the back of the connector head, it matters, guys, because if you slot it the other way around, and that's it, you got the cable in the other way around as well. So be careful, guys, when you're doing this, because all these small mistakes, you only realize it like at the end during the testing phase. Oh yes, of course, once you are done making your cable, remember to test it using such tool. Okay, using the RJ45 checker tool. This kind of tool helps to check whether your cable works before you use them immediately. This is very useful, by the way, because you can use it to check your house RJ45 ports too, like what I did, especially when they are embedded into the wall like mine. That was how I spotted some errors in labeling of the ports as well by the contractors initially too, and I had to correct them myself. Anyway, you can always watch it in my video here. Alright, to wrap it up, here are the steps to follow. Number 1, cut your cable to your desired length from the spool. Remember to leave a couple of inches more. Number 2, cut the end wires open so you can expose the wires inside. Number 3, cut the transparent plastic that is in the center of it. To get the excess of it, you have to separate the wires first so that you can see it at the center of it. Number 4, untwist the wires. Reorder them in the correct order following the guide, and then trim the end of the wires so that they all look like the same level. Number 5, slot the wires through the connector head. Ensure they still maintain the correct order after coming out. Number 6, crimp the head. Remember to get a crimper that also can cut the excess wires if you want to avoid the hassle of cutting the excess wires manually like what I did. Number 7, test, and by testing, it will really save a lot of your time when you found out that you had them in the wrong order or when the cable itself is faulty. Because if let's say you have created a cable, you didn't test it, you use it right away, and it didn't work, you would have no idea what went wrong with it. You pull your head out or you end up throwing the cables away. But don't throw the cable away, because a lot of the time the cable itself is fine. It's just that the way the order of the wires inside is wrong, or the direction of the head that you crimped is wrong. So that's why get a RJ45 checker tool. You don't have to follow me, don't have to get client's tools itself. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way, so yeah, you can get a cheaper one. You can get like, I think $15, $20. You can rewatch the video again because I did mention discuss about that in the other video. So yeah, just get one, cheap one will do tests again and again, make sure all the cables are in order, make sure the cable passed the test, then you can use the cable. Alright, last but not least, enjoy the satisfaction of making them yourselves. Okay, with that, if you like this video, do consider leaving a like, share and subscribe to this channel, as it will help this channel out tremendously. Alright, thank you guys so much, and stay curious, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.